This is the story of Bakassi Boys of Nigeria. A very popular group in the 1990s and 2000s. Today we shall look at their origin, operations, and their whereabout now. Once again you are welcome to Floating Skills Nigeria Stories. It all started in 1999 when a group of traders in the popular Bakassi line at Ariara Main Market in ABA decided to take their destiny into their own hands. Their mission was to put stop to the incessant armed robbery, kidnapping etc. attacks, which grounded the commercial activities in the state. At first they were welcomed by the people whom were fed up with the high rate of incompetence by the police who were supposed to fight it. But the people later turned against them, when the Bakassi boys spread their role into areas of social and political control. They enforce debt payment, they chastise women who stray in marriage, and they menace critics of the Governor Mbabanuju government. Most Nigerians only got to hear of the Bakassi boys in the late 2000s, when it became a most unorthodox and unusual crime-fighting outfit in Anambra State, especially when it became an object of great controversy jousting between Governor Chinwoke Mbabanuju and President Olusegun Obasanjo. Obasanjo had vowed to uproot the outfit by all means, and in fact did so eventually. After Bakassi boys become a Frankenstein monster, which started gobbling the people it had set out to protect. It should also be noted that if the law enforcement agencies had been able to provide security for the people of the southeast when they so badly needed it, the Bakassi boys would never have become necessary in the first place. What caused it was that, in the late 1990s, the SAP economic policy of Babangida, IBB, regime had turned out to be a great blessing in disguise for Igbo businessmen and artisans for whom it offered a wonderful opportunity to dig deep into their homebred talents to be innovative. Two groups of businesses, the leather workers, shoe, and tailors, clothing, had benefited mostly, as they systematically bettered and perfected their trades and targeted the export market. ABA tailors and shoemakers had always been good, but they became even better when greater opportunities beckoned with the export market that existed for them all over Africa, the Middle Belt and Asia. The shoemakers would make good shoes and stamp made in Italy or made in Spain on them and offloaded them on Lebanese and other middlemen and women that inundated ABA to evacuate the products. The Bakassi boys originated from ABA Market in Abia State. In the 1990s, the popular ABA Market was always besieged by armed robbers, kidnappers and killers. The traders in the market were always being intimidated by hoodlums and attacked by robbers. And what that meant was that ABA City, like the other Igbo cities, Idoti Onitsha, Nui, Owerri, etc., were awash with cash. This was also the period when huge mansions were sprouting in Igbo villages like giant mushrooms that had received an overdose of fertilizer. But then, the consequence was not all salutary. Crime rate became on the increase. Money is to criminals the way nectar is to bees. The surfeit of cash in ABA and other Igbo cities invited crime syndicates who descended on the cities with brutal vengeance never witnessed before. The worst crime syndicates in ABA were the Mafs, who unleashed abominable crimes on the people, in addition to the kidnappings, robbery and abominable acts, like raping of wives in front of their husbands or forcing children to make love with their parents as their sibling watched. While all these were happening, the law enforcement agencies were pretending to be helpless. And in most cases, if anyone go to report, the criminals would return the following day to relate to you how you had gone to report to the police and what you had said, with exactitude. Under such a scenario, the victims bore their fate with painful equanimity. Issues got to a head when the criminals started to kidnap, and even, kill the foreign traders who usually came to evacuate the finished leather goods and clothing. There was a particular case of Hajiya, for that was the name she was known with, whose decomposing body was found in a ditch, after she had been kidnapped and killed by the Mafs. That was the last drop of water that overflowed the can. The ABA businessmen knew that it was between their livelihood and the criminals in ABA. It became necessary to make outsiders understand that ABA symbolizes the best and finest in Igboness, hence ABA is always the bastion of Igbo resistance and the symbol of the Igbo resilience. ABA incarnates the best and finest, maybe also the worst. So, most things that make up the Igbo reality are cooked in ABA. There was a spontaneous uprising of the artisans at the Aria market, as they mobilized other traders in ABA and the Bakassi boys were founded. The traders, mostly indigenes of Abriba, a tribe noted for its avowed prowess and dexterity in the use of cutlass and machetes among the Igbo nation, went to their shrines to gather enough spiritual and diabolical powers. Backed by this and financial support from among top traders in ABA, the Bakassi boys went into action and they took the fight to the robbers' den and secret hideouts. The result of the onslaught was an instant success, as ABA was totally cleansed of all sorts of crimes. They were using very horrendous methods. Suspects were subjected to ghoulish tests. One of such is to hold a pair of machetes in the form of a cross in front of the face of the alleged evildoer. If his face reflects in the machetes, he is deemed guilty and put to savage death. From what most people know, the Bakassi boys have mystical powers drawn principally from Engwa and Ogoni deities, but in consultation with most deities in Igboland, they were able to clean up ABA in a nice state of criminals, most of whom escaped to other states of the southeast. The Bakassi boys were being invited by other states to calm the state down because the crime rate was too high. But the Bakassi boys soon ran into trouble with the federal authorities. Firstly, when some criminals who had the thugs whom they used against political opponents, were dealt with by Bakassi boys, they started to pull strings to ban the Bakassi boys. In reaction, Governor Mbabanuju quickly moved to legalize the activities of the Bakassi boys by getting the Anambra State House of Assembly to pass a law legalizing them as the Anambra State Vigilante Services, AVS. However, so determined were the opponents of the Bakassi boys and the state government use of them that the powerful politicians pursued with their influence-laden campaigns against the AVS. Perhaps the most abominable was the death of Barrister Igwe and his wife with an unborn baby, who were murdered in cold blood in Onitsha, by people suspected to be connected to the Bakassi boys. Governor Mbabanuju did not also help matters either, by the way he allowed the control of Bakassi boys to slip out of his hands into the clutches of individuals who used it to settle personal, political and social scores, so their operations had by then become totally bastardized. Incidentally, Barrister Igwe, an Onitsha-based lawyer, had been a loud supporter of the labor and civil organization elements that were campaigning against what was acknowledged as Governor Mbabanuju's clueless government. When President Obasanjo allowed the strong arm of the state to descend and disband the Bakassi boys, the action was supported as the outfit had become dysfunctional and totally useless. People started seeing the outfit as being worse than the criminals they had come to fight. The Bakassi boys were disbanded in 2002 and it inspired the making of the movie Isakaba. Thanks for watching. If you know something about this story, do share in the comments section below. Please subscribe and see you in the next Nigeria story.